Hey everybody, it's Ethan. How are you this evening? So, couple things. Those of you who aren't here often, you may not know when I speak here, I speak only for myself. I don't talk for Amazon or for Twitch. Tonight, we're going to talk about getting your career unstuck. So, how do you know if your career is stuck? How do you know how to get it unstuck? What do you do? So, anyway, here's a rant. Couple things I want to rant about. Number one, in your career, hope is not a strategy. Sitting in your job, doing good work, and waiting to be noticed. I had someone on my team who was doing this. I called her out on it. She said, "That's exactly what I'm doing. I bust my butt every day, and I hope one of you people in management will take notice." It's great, I guess. It's great for me because she works really hard. But hope is not a strategy. So if you're stuck because you're working really hard and your work is appreciated, but you're going nowhere, it turns out your boss, your manager, your whoever, it would be ideal if they were like, "Hey, you're doing great work. We should help you move forward." But in fact, they're busy and they don't think about it. So you have to have a better plan than hoping for stuff to come your way. So it is true, I noticed, her Duke of Thought. That is a paradox because I am an exceptional manager. You can decide exceptional at what. I think, among other things, I'm exceptionally humble. But she had an exceptional manager. Not all of you have exceptional managers. And that's why there's no contradiction in what I just said. Don't screw with me, chat. I'm in a mood and I have a drink. Or do. It's up to you. Okay. So here's the thing. A lot of people find they feel stuck in their career at some point, and things aren't going how they want, or they feel down or depressed. What causes that? Well, it's different causes, and we're going to talk about a lot of those. And because some smart aleck in the Discord server said, "Hey, people would remember things better if I gave you homework and challenged you to do work here in the stream," we'll actually go through at least one exercise tonight. So you're going to get to join in. We're going to try and make you better. But even I have felt like, hey, this isn't going how I thought. I'm not making progress. I'm churning away. Why am I working so hard and not getting anywhere? You have to figure out why. And you also, and this is a contradiction, Duke of Thought. I was calling you out and joking with you. But you also have to be patient with yourself. The thing about a career is the balance between pressing forward and having a plan to grow yourself and not being ridiculously impatient and getting into being frustrated and job hopping and antagonistic. And there is no one perfect answer, but understand, on the one hand, there's passivity or passivity. Passive something, being really passive. And in that case, that's what this lady on my team was doing. She was working hard and just hoping. Conversely, you can be the person who's always nagging and always unhappy, nagging your boss, or just sitting silently and stewing that you're not getting a raise and not being rewarded. And you got to get between the two of those. You got to find the right balance between the two of them. Take it in. That's got to be one of the biggest chat comments ever. I'll have someone else read it and tell me if it's important. No, it's awesome. Let's see. I notice my manager is always busy with his work. Yeah, exactly. He's doing what he's doing, or she's doing his work. He hasn't got anything for you. So that's where you have to be a little bit pushy. What should you do in the case? So you can put those questions in, put them in our Q&A extension, and I will answer them when we get to questions. So I really appreciate your questions, but put them there. It's hard to know if you're stuck or just impatient. So Happy Stick, welcome in. Yes, it is hard to know. The thing is, you can look at peers, you can look at typical progress of others in careers. You can try to get a relative sense by looking at your peers, both your peers from college and your peers at the workplace. How are they growing or not? If you're on a fast growth path and you wish you were going faster, you may be impatient. If, on the other hand, you're being left behind by your peers, you have a problem to go figure out. Now, I never recommend measuring yourself only relative to others. But basically, if you want to get unstuck, if you want to know if you're stuck or just impatient, the first thing to figure out is get a rough gauge from others. Then the second thing is figure out what it takes to move up in your role. What type of expertise, what kind of publications, what type of accreditation. Are you making progress or not? And here's where I'm going to be a boomer, even though I'm Gen X and speak like an old guy. Careers last a really long time. And I know most of you hang out here. You're max in your 30s, often in your 20s, sometimes still in your teens. A 20 or 30 year career sounds impossible because 20 years ago you were in grade school or diapers, or 30 years ago you certainly were. So thinking about a 30-year horizon seems frustrating. Impossible, even. The point I'd make is very specific. Consistent progress over time will get you further than burning yourself out in a short burst. So a career is a marathon, not a sprint. I'm sure you've heard that before. Now, I don't run. So I don't really marathon and I can't really sprint. But what I do is I climb mountains. And when you're climbing something like Mount Rainier here in the Seattle area, going uphill with a pack on your back, you need to make consistent progress. But the person who does what's called dash and gasp ends up exhausted. So that's where you walk really fast until you're hunched over on your knees, panting. And then you rest up a minute and do it again. That burns a lot more energy than just a consistent climb where actually the metric is, and all of you know this in all sorts of sports, if you're moving slowly enough that you can maintain a conversation, you can keep doing that for many hours. Your air will hold out, your endurance will hold out. And I've seen people shoot by me in the mountains when I used to do dash and gasp. And the same is true in careers. Daily progress is good. A lot of you know, and a lot of you come in from Devin's show. I was listening to Devin a couple days ago, and somebody in chat asked him quickly, what if you could only give your child one piece of advice, you were going to die, kind of a harsh question, what would it be? And he said, hey, be 1% better each day. Well, that's actually really good career advice. If you can just gain a little bit of ground every day, you'll probably get where you want. But let's go back to being stuck. So, getting stuck or feeling stuck, first, if you feel that way, feelings are real and they do sap your confidence. And so, if you have an environment where you're not where you are feeling stuck, it is important to cure that feeling because it will sap your confidence, and you really can't take on new challenges, grow, or learn and take risk if you don't have confidence stepping into those things. Because when you take on a new career challenge, you need to have enough confidence because you're going to run into setbacks. And when you step up or take on a new skill or want to get promoted, you're going to need enough confidence to weather the setbacks. So I want to talk about this for a minute. And I guess I would say, you need to figure out what grows and builds your confidence at work and what saps and drains it. So knowing those things will get down to what type of job to pick and whether or not you need to make a switch. But it's important, and like here's an exercise everybody in chat can do real quick. Sound off in chat about what, first let's do positives. What builds your confidence? What makes you feel good, strong, capable? And this is important. so that you want to go into work the next time you have the chance to go into work and kill it? What takes you into work fired up? What about, I'll give you a few categories. What things about your boss, about your pay, about the type of work, about your coworkers, about the company culture? So help me out. Tell me in chat, what is ideal culture for you? What are ideal coworkers? And we're going to dig into this a little bit, because if you ever want to change jobs, knowing what really matters to you and having thought it through about what systematically empowers me and what irritates me, those matter. So being right and in control. Duke of Thoughts, does that mean you're right and you're in control? Marksman for Worth, discipline and diet. So, okay, that gives you power when you feel in control. Hey, Ethan, I just got here. Did we find out the LinkedIn stuff? No. We're working on that. Awesome Dave is on it. He swears it will be ready for our broadcast next week. I really am upset that we didn't get there. We also need to fix something with the Discord server. Our one of our moderators, Shadow Fox, is on that. She says we'll fix it after the show to resync the Discord server, so that those of you who are subscribers show up there as subs. We broke the Discord servers so that everyone knows what I'm talking about. We have a couple pieces of big news. We broke the Discord server when we switched my streaming name to Ethan Evans, and we got to fix that, and Shadow's on that. The second thing was I was invited to LinkedIn to stream on LinkedIn in their LinkedIn beta. So I'm going to try that out, and obviously a lot of the stuff I do is relevant to LinkedIn. Okay, so going back to stuff here, Duke of Thought, you want to be in charge and in control. Okay, well, you're going to have to earn that. Yeah, you're going to have to think about how you're going to earn that respect. The White 1989, seeing through features from conception to completion. That's great. When you can take something from an idea to reality, it's good you've identified that. Tekadin, being able to work more efficiently and effectively than my coworkers. So is that competitive for you? Like you want to outcompete them? Or is it a pride thing? Tell me more. Dimethyl, comparing notes. Chalupa Whale, I like your answer. Not being the smartest one in the room keeps me driving to be better. Yes, having people you look up to. Ramblin', very common comment. I need to be left alone on a project that takes time and thought with many possible outcomes. So that's a common ask. And I did a show. Oh, touchdown. Pink Dragons doesn't say who, but I'm assuming that's a Seahawks touchdown. So give us the score. That should be, it was an 11-point game. So 28, should be like 28, 24, something like that. All right. When I see a strategy I've implemented copied by my coworkers. Oh, Dimethyl, that's great. And I will take a minute to brag on Twitch in this case. All right, 28-23, I was close. I'll take a moment to brag on Twitch. When we made subs and then bits and sub gifting, I will say most of the other streaming platforms copied a lot of what we did in Twitch commerce that gets used here. They have funny names for bits. They call them stars and jewels and whatever, but they copied our bits program, and they copied a lot of things about subs. So being copied is a big form of flattery. I guess both competitive and pride. If I know I can do something better than my coworkers, it kind of fuels me to do even better. It totally makes sense. It's frankly a ton of fun to count coup. Sadly, like I'll admit to it, I'm very competitive and I love to do work. And if I'm better than some others, my most fun thing, I do this when it comes to hiring. I actually tell people how I hire and that give them all the tools to copy me, and then tell them that I'm going to beat them at it anyway. And that's the most fun you can have, which is share all your skills and tools and try and be the rising tide that lifts all boats, because you have confidence that even as you lift everyone else, you're going to stay in front. All right, let's flip the script though. Talk to me a minute about the things that most drag you down make you feel stuck or key that kill your confidence in your abilities. We're not worried about just what you don't like, but the things that kill your confidence. Duke of Thought, rejection. Couldn't agree more. And for me, I'll share, it's what drives me crazy, and I'm going to do a show this Friday with Dr. Alok Kanagia, Dr. K from Harvard, a psychologist, on workplace stress. And what drives me more crazy than any one thing is being misjudged. So, in other words, when I have really good intentions, or I try to do something well, or I'm trying to help and people don't see it as help, or people are suspicious of me when I'm being honest. For me, few things frustrate me and kill my confidence more than that. Chalupa whale, that's a little bit like being second guessed. Marksman, lack of common goals. Totally agree. It's hard to work in a team when everybody's going different directions. Ramblin', when a spur of the moment idea from the higher ups throws a wrench into the well working machine. Okay, got it. Happy stick, making a call on something that doesn't have specifically correct outcome and being wrong or judged. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. It's a version of what I'm talking about, where you do your best and people are very suspicious or negative of it, and it's really opinion. Tekenden, working in a box, not being able to try different things and different methodologies. An example would be how I got my degree. I self-taught myself. It was more effective. And it's okay if your answer's long. We like lots of content. Rambling, catch the wrench and throw it back. Well, here's the thing, right? You got to find out why that wrench was put in. Like, to you, it feels like a wrench. To them, it may be that as the manager, I'm trying to make some useful change. I may be screwing it up, but I am trying. Unrealistic timelines affecting the quality. A very common complaint, particularly from engineers, but lots of people. All right. So, you guys have listed a bunch of things that help your confidence and hurt your confidence. The point is, if you feel stuck, when I climb a mountain and I'm taking those steps and I'm sweating buckets, I'll give you an example. I was climbing Mount Baker, which you all can Google if you're not from around Washington State, but I was climbing Mount Baker with a friend, 5, 6 years ago, maybe longer, 7, 8 years ago. And that's a climb we were going to do in one day, and it's 7,500 vertical feet from where you park to the summit. So a little bit over 2,000 meters, not quite 2,500 meters of climbing. And that's a lot of climbing for a one-day climb. And we're chugging away, chugging away, chugging away for hours. And I'm still like 4,000 feet. So, 1,200 meters or something from the summit. And I just think I'm not going to be able to do this. But the key is I just kept going. And by keeping going, I eventually broke through. So the things that keep your confidence up allow you to keep going, and you can have faith you'll break through. If your confidence is being slowly eroded, though, you have to change those circumstances because your work performance will spiral down. Hey, Furrow, thank you very much for staying sub for 4 months. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And of course, I try and keep the energy up in my voice because Shadow Fox keeps reminding me not to shout all the time, but I get excited. And so I'm trying to learn how to shout at a lower tone of voice. But thank you. So here's the thing. Are you stuck or are you just frustrated? When you're stuck, I'm thinking of stuck. I titled this Career Confidence. The biggest thing I'd like you all to take away is that most of you are here and listen to me. It's not about me, but the people who would care enough to watch a Twitch show and watch YouTube videos and listen to podcasts on building your career, you're gonna have a super successful career. But it may not all happen by the time you're 19 or 23 or 25 or 27. And that's just because life is long and money is expensive and stuff takes time. There's a guy who works at Twitch right now. He's sold 3 startups. His third one he just sold to Twitch. And he's 31. And he's talking to me in a thread we had about being independently wealthy and how one of his goals for the next decade is to be independently wealthy. And I kind of told him, like, dude, try to relax just a little about it. You've already built and sold 3 startups. I see who you are. You're incredibly smart and hardworking. It's great that you want to push, but don't forget to stop and smell the roses. Now, for the rest of the folks, if you're not having that kind of success, you may have to make a change. So let me talk a little bit about that. And that could be, in a sense, rant number 2, which is a lot of people get stuck and then they get frustrated and bitter. And they get to the point where they're like, damn it, I just got to get out of this job. Any job is better than this job. Turns out that's not true. But that's how you feel at the moment because the grass looks greener on the other side of the fence. And so the key is understanding that if you don't make an intentional change and you don't identify what gives you energy and what drains your energy, and what kind of things are truly important to you in your next job and aren't, you're essentially making a random change. And so you'll get a random result. And I know so many people who change jobs and they go from random job A to random job B and they get a random result. Now, sometimes that result is better and they think, oh, see, I was smart. I picked this other job. Kind of bullshit. So look, I understand, by the way, if you need to pay the rent, if you need to feed your family, you may need to take whatever job you can. But if you're in a situation, I was talking to someone today on our Discord server. I was talking, his name's Zev, his handle's Zev, Z-E-V. You can find the thread on Discord. And he was saying he's got a pretty good job, but it doesn't seem to have a lot of growth potential. And what I told him is, look, then take all the time you possibly can to pick your next move, because you have the option, you have the luxury of having a comfortable job that's meeting your needs, even if it's not everything you want. So make sure you upgrade. And so the rant really is, a lot of you, a lot of us, I have done this too. We sit around expecting someone should do something. You have to take initiative and don't just spend your energy complaining. Spend it on planning your next move and investigating that company. Or starting your own business. Like, I've started this channel. I spent a year figuring out how to start this channel the way I wanted. And now with all of you, I've spent a year building the channel, and it's great. We have a lot of people here together. We have a good time, and I love it. But it took a year for me to figure out how to do it. And now great things are coming our way. We have great collaborations coming. We do stuff with Devin. Everybody knows that. But we're going to have other guests on and going to be guests on other shows. The point of that is we spent a year getting there and then a year working on it. It's taken, the broadcast you're watching right now is the culmination of a year of thought and a year of work. And we've come so far. Be a little bit patient with yourself to make progress. I'm well known for quotes. My favorite quote on this is actually from Bill Gates. Bill Gates said, apparently, you can look it up and make sure, most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. Now, for a lot of the younger audience, 10 years is going to sound like eternity. But I'll give you this 31-year-old entrepreneur who works for Twitch, who sold 3 companies, he and I were discussing our 10-year plans. He had a 10-year plan for the decade from 2010 to 2020, and now that it became 2020, he was setting his plan for the next decade. And by the way, he had 9 goals for the decade 2010 to 2020. He met 4 of them and missed 5 of them. But he felt like that was pretty good progress. And then he was trying to set better goals for the next 10 years. That's big thinking. And I would encourage all of you, first, what are your goals for 2020? Can you actually articulate them? Feel free to put them in chat. But second, what are your goals for the 2020s? And look, it's not like anybody's going to come back and look at this broadcast and look at what you said in chat and hold you to them. You can't be jailed for missing your goals, at least not as reported on Twitch. I'm going to read chat here real quick. Duke of Thought says he wants to become employed. Yes, Duke of Thought is looking for a job. If I recall correctly, he's a chemical engineer. I might have that wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Duke. But if you have a job for a Kim E, that'd be great. Sev7, pay off your debt. Is that school debt or something else? Chalupa, I feel like this requires an immense amount of self-awareness, i.e. not blaming others for your being stuckness. Yes, it does take a ton of self-awareness. Physics, I want to finish and publish my open source project. Great thing. Chat's outrunning me here, which is great. Launch a successful Kickstarter campaign for a personal project. The 2020s is long, probably getting married, and that's the only big time goal I have. Furrow, I'm sure you'll do great there. Death Wish, hey Ethan, found you through Devin Nash. Thanks for all the great content. I was become a professional stream in 2020. Good luck, please. The more the merrier. My goal for 2020 at the moment is to figure out what I want to do next. Feeling stuck. I've been working at an engineering firm for 9 years. Perfect. You're in the right place. You have been someplace for a long time. Hephaestus. Good streak. Didn't notice this was live. Happy to be a sub. Thank you, Hephaestus. Always good to have you here. Geeky Benji. Getting more involved in the ISO certification of the company I work with and make quality management my full-time job. All right. ISO's good, and getting involved in a company goal is good. Players. Duke of Thought, check in a Honda R&D. So some tips for for Duke. He needs a good job. And he's got a good resume, and he just turned down grad school. He committed to going into the job market, even though he had a PhD candidacy role available. So he's very dedicated. And I admire anyone who steps away from a PhD only because I did it myself. That's what's called selection bias. Actually, my dad had a PhD. Being a doctor is a great thing. But you got to know what's right for you. And I realized it wasn't right for me. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. We're going to go into that more. While you guys keep talking in chat, here's the thing. This advice from my wife when I was talking to her about this show, it's really good advice. We talked about the things that make a job good and bad vary per person. There's your boss. There's the culture, there's what you're paid, there's the work you do, there's your coworkers. Thing number one, which of those is most important to you? And then thing number two, what part is most important to you? Chalupa Whale said he likes to have smart coworkers, not be the smartest guy in the room. Some people care about pay. Some people care that their boss respect them. For a lot of people, I quote this stat all the time, 70% of people leave jobs because of negative interactions with their manager. So trying to find a good manager can be really important. My point is, if you want to get unstuck and make a change, you're going to need to figure out what kind of change you want to make. What is most important to you? For example, if it turns out a manager is most important to you, you may want to go work for someone that you already know, or that a friend of yours is working for who can testify. Like, that takes extra research. It's not just a job, it's who's the boss gonna be. So to get unstuck, first thing to tell if you're stuck, are you behind your peers? Are you not making the progress you want and you've given it reasonable time? And my wife, who did a lot of management herself, one thing she pointed out, if you've never had a conversation with your boss about and boss means any manager, managing partner, director, funder, whoever's in charge. If you've never had a discussion with that person about what you want to do, then you're not stuck yet. If you're assuming that they're psychic or they're going to come ask you, that may not happen. So I think it's really important that you have that conversation. If you've had that conversation and you know what they're expecting, or you can't get an answer out of them, or you've done the work and nothing's happening on your behalf, or if the workplace you're in is sucking your energy, and that's a lot of ors, if those things are happening, then you may be stuck and you need to move. If those things aren't all happening, you have career confidence, and you have confidence, just keep going, keep pushing. This is why I talk about goals, though. You have to know where you're pushing. You can't know if you're stuck if you don't know where you're going. Silent Rec, I'm glad you love it already. That's fantastic feedback. Thank you very much. Swan 3788, I'm realizing that being in control about what I work on and who I work with is really important. Well, there you go. Now you're getting closer. So find that environment or create it. By the way, one way you can create an environment is talk to your boss about what you want. Your boss may be a jerk and tell you, I want you to do things my way. But a lot of bosses, if you can express, hey, I like to be in control of my work. I know that you need to make sure it's done and I'm doing my job. How can we work together so I have more control and you are comfortable? You can ask those questions. I will tell you this, I have managed thousands of different people. Right now my team's a couple hundred. Very rarely does an employee come to me and say, hey, Ethan, I'm struggling to work in our team right now, or even with you or for you right now. You're not working in my style. Can you make this change for me? Can we work this different way? I'd like to work this way, and here's how I propose it happen. What would it take for you to do that? It does happen occasionally, and I bend over backwards to help those people. Why? Because they're engaged. I had an employee come to me last week on one of my teams. You guys will get a laugh out of this. She wrote me and she said, hey, Ethan, do you have any advice on how to get a mentor? Now, if you're a long-term viewer of this channel, you know I talk about mentors all the time, and the YouTube channel's got a bunch of videos in it. So I literally wrote her back and said, so are you trolling me? Because she's on our streaming team, and so she streams. And so I sent her a link to my YouTube video on mentorship, and I said, look, take a look at the video and then follow up with me once you can answer those questions. Well, a day later, she sent me back a long email with the answers to everything I talk about in that video. So she wasn't trolling me. But the point is, I then bent over backwards to try to figure out who I would recommend to her as a mentor to meet her specific needs, because she was putting in the effort. And this is my point to a lot of you. If you're feeling stuck and want something different in your job, go ask your boss, but not just, hey, I don't like what you're doing, do it differently. Hey, here's what I'd like. Can we do it this way? How can we get there? Very few of you, based on my experience, very few people do that. Very few people go to their boss and actually make a well-formed request to have the business place operate differently. They may gripe. They may say, I didn't like how you ran that meeting. But they don't help. If you offer your manager help, they'll usually help you back. And this is a great test. If your manager's like, yeah, I can't help you. We do work here the A and B way, and get back to your desk and do more A. Faster, please. Then you know that instead you should go see our resume improvement video and plan your next move. All right. So it's still probably whiskey. For anybody who missed it, joined later, this is a scofflaw. So tonight's drink of the night is the scofflaw. All right. So dimethyl, I see Chalupa saying you ask a great question. It's scrolling off the screen on me, something about a smoke screen. Put it in our Q&A tool, and I will absolutely get back to it because we're just about ready to jump into questions. I have the question of the day left. But before I go into questions, which I'm going to do, and we'll do question of the day later, it's time for rant number 2. And we'll end with this rant for rants and go into the questions in the Q&A tool. So vote your questions there, enter them if you haven't. There's one with a ton of votes I'll take next. But here's the rant, okay? Some of you have heard this before. Don't run from something, run to something. The worst way to screw yourself is to change jobs just to get into a different job, as opposed to, unless you must have a new job immediately, targeting a job and knowing what you're looking for. Now, that can still bite you. I've told this story before, how I looked for a year for a job within Amazon. I moved and my boss moved 6 weeks later. I picked a boss I really wanted to work for, and he got pulled to another project 6 weeks later that he was asked. He didn't have any real choice. So just because you plan well doesn't mean you won't get screwed. But I'm saying the reverse. If you don't plan well, then you're rolling dice on a craps table and you'll probably get screwed because the odds favor the house. So the rant here is be intentional. And in fact, I would say, and I'm glad Marksman thinks rants are fun, this is the whole damn message of this channel. Be intentional. Wake up, get up in the morning, 5 minutes, assuming you sometimes bathe or shower or eat breakfast or walk to the bus or go to your car. 5 minutes during the day, be intentional and think, what the hell do I want to accomplish today? What do I want to accomplish this year? It's the first real broadcast of 2020 in some ways. It's a great time to talk about, what am I trying to get done? If you have goals and you're patient, that's why I said this is about career confidence. I'm not the best inspirational speaker, but I wish I could grab each of you by your shirt and shake you so that you felt like, hey, I just have to have a plan and work against the plan and I'll get whatever the hell I want. I am not the smartest guy. I am not the hardest working, but I've come a tremendous amount of distance by just sticking to the plan and grinding away and bulldozing over obstacles. Being stubborn is a great way to make progress. And so what I'm encouraging all of you is have a damn plan and get started working on it. And yeah, rants bring up my swearing tolerance because I get angry when I think about all of you that can be great. And look at how many problems the world has right now. There's the Australian fires, which a bunch of people have been fundraising for. There's those poor, horribly poor people in the Ukraine who thought they were flying home from vacation or whatever and got blown to smithereens by random rockets. Your life or my life can be snuffed out at any moment. But we need people who can be in control, like you, who can be smart, educated, hardworking, and thoughtful out solving the world's problems. Global warming, high taxes, poverty, homelessness, the list of problems is depressing and long. The reason I do this broadcast, yes, the high level reason is to share my experience so all of you can benefit. The second level reason is I am trying to help create new leaders, and I believe one day this broadcast will have bigger and bigger reach. I want to change the world through you, and I want to make you rich and satisfied in doing it. How's that for an offer? You can have meaning, you can have money, you can have success, and you can do some good all at once. And I like to say there is nothing wrong with doing well for yourself while you're doing good. You don't have to live in poverty to help people. So this is your opportunity, and that begins with being intentional. Don't just change jobs because you're jaded with the one you want and you want the hell out. Yeah. So I see you all saying sign you up to take it. Then follow the channel. Keep coming back. I dare you. I beg you. Go in and join our Discord and look at the channel success stories. People from this channel go in and post their success stories of how things have gone well for them. based on advice they got in this channel. And so they say what I told them, what they heard here, what they got from the community, and what effect it had. And then I'll also say, come back on Wednesday at 7 p.m. We're going to have our moderator, Shadow Fox, Tina, on the show. She just got her dream job. And we worked together through that whole process where from application approach all the way through salary negotiation, we're going to do a case study of how she did it. So you're going to get a whole case study of this channel's approach to getting a better job you love. And that's like how to make this move in a box. So if you're feeling stuck, this is your motivational speech, and Wednesday is going to be your example. All right. So with that, we're going to go to questions. Let's pop up the first question. That first question is, what should I do when I find out my boss is taking credit for my work? Hey, players, thanks for the sub. It's great to have you here for 3 months. Swan, fellow Purdue alum. All right. Thank you. What is it you guys say now? They didn't used to say boiler up. I looked it up. It was invented after I left, but boiler up. All right. And Pink Dragons, we need a score update because I'm guessing the game's getting long and I haven't heard any more touchdowns. Okay. So, what should I do when I find out my boss is taking credit for my work? Well, all right, it depends on setting. How much time's left in the game?
148.
148. Oh, all right. Awesome, Dave. I've noticed he's looking at his phone, and now I know he's rooting. He's pulling Seahawks here.
He's actually texting, but you know.
Yeah. Anyway, go Packers. Yep, that's fine. Hey, there's a lot of teams I'd like to see a lot less than the Packers. So.
Ravens are gone.
Yes, neither of us are Ravens fans. So, what should I do? Well, it depends on your industry, okay? Like in academia, professors put their names on papers, but they shouldn't remove yours. Yeah, Patriots wrecked, best day ever. There's a lot of people here. 100% of people in this studio, in the whole house, agree with that. For the Patriots fans, you've won a lot. You're going to have to suck up being hated. It's just the way it is. So, anyway, in academia and stuff, people put your name on papers. But if someone's just stealing credit, you can't let that stand. So, you need to call people on it. Oh, Chalupa Whale, you're so deluded, buddy. Just look at, unfortunately, the world. People hate on success a lot. But we respect the success. We just don't care for it. How about that? We respect that the Patriots are very successful. Answering this question, you've got to challenge that. The first thing to do is call attention to it politely. Depending on if you're in a big company, you may want to call attention to it with documentation. You may want to start by asking questions. So you may need to ask questions of if you find your boss is taking credit. First ask why, like what's going on here? How do I get recognized? And I'm assuming, like, if your boss is just obviously a jerk, you're going to have to, like, this is unfortunately always the truth. If your boss is just a jerk, you're going to have to just get out. There's no solution for a truly rotten boss. And unfortunately, as a boss, it pains me how many people I hear about that just do horrible things, right? You got the Me Too movement. I won't go into it a bunch, but you got people doing illegal stuff or things they shouldn't. You got favoritism, nepotism. There's all these isms. If you have one of those bosses, just hunker down and start planning your escape. Even if that escape takes a year or two, plan it. But assuming you have a boss who's not a total troll, but they are taking credit for your work, I go ask him about it. I go have that conversation. And I might consider asking others about it. Like, this is what I see. Am I overly sensitive? Or how have you gotten the boss to share credit? And then beyond that, you just get the hell out. Um, but yeah, I can't remember who asked this question, or I'm not sure I ever knew. If you want to say more about your circumstance in chat, we can talk about it real quick before I go to the next question. The next question is a huge one. It was put in early. I'll read it all when I get there. But if there are other questions you guys want to ask, by all means, put them in chat. I'm sorry, put not in chat. Put them in our extension, and we'll answer them. And then we're going to do the question of the day, which is a channel tradition. All right, we're going to roll to the next question, and we'll come back. So I started work 2 weeks ago. I noticed my manager is always busy with his work. He is approachable and I'm getting my work done, but I asked for work, but he ain't got anything for me now. What should I do in this case for the time being at work? Because not really having anything to do for hours at a time and trying to make yourself look busy is very tough at times. Still on a 6-month probation. All right, few things. 1, stop by your boss's office and don't ask for work. Ask, is there anything you need help with that I can help with? If you get an answer, do that thing. If not, go talk to some of your coworkers. What do they need help with? 3rd, go figure out what your business is trying to accomplish. Don't just try and do random things or look busy. Learn a little bit about whatever company you work at and what business they're in, and figure out how to contribute to that. Hephaestus runs his own startup. He's on top of this. He says, you can ask, what's your biggest challenge right now? Since they may not know what you can help with. Yes, ask for a challenge. But if your boss truly has no time, try and figure out something yourself. That's taking charge. Try and help your coworkers. Is there anyone around you who's busy or successful? Now, I would say if your boss is super busy and no one around you has anything to do and isn't succeeding, that would indicate that your boss doesn't know how to delegate. But basically, all of these things amount to figure out what adds value in your business and then be a self-starter. Nothing makes managers as happy as people who magically make problems they didn't know they had or weren't thinking about go away. And so do some of that. If there's truly nothing for you to do, then I'm not very bullish on your company or your group. But generally, I think if you go ask others, you can get some stuff done. So that's my advice. I'm glad you have a boss who's approachable. All right, next question. And I guess the Seahawks lost. I'm a Steelers fan, but I pull for everyone else here. Because they, the Seahawks aren't a bad team, but...
Go Browns.
Awesome Dave says, go Browns. Now there is a man with long-term faith. The Browns were great in the 60s, I'm told. I don't know, but I'm told. He's told too, because he doesn't know either. All right. Well, my colors are not hidden. My sports affiliation is black and gold. I play hockey. I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. Yeah, so even when Seattle gets a team, I will go see the Seattle team, but I will not switch loyalty. The only Seattle team I'm loyal to is I never watched soccer before. So I love the Sounders. I had season tickets with Dave for a while. And soccer is a lot more fun. It is. I get why it's called. I know we have a lot of global fans here. I truly understand why it is called the beautiful game. I will also comment as an aside that soccer and hockey actually have a lot in common, except important, and you're going to want to clip this. In soccer, when you fall down and flop around on the ground and cry when nobody touches you, in hockey, your own team would kick your ass for that and tell you you're embarrassing us. So we do need to fix about soccer, the play acting crybaby stuff. Get up and play the damn game. All right. Enough said.
That was the fourth rant, I think.
Apparently my rant count is up to 4. I wasn't intending that one. It's not in the notes. Chat brought it out. All right. As a technical director, how should I handle reporting to a non-technical manager? It's been frustrating. I like the comments in chat, by the way. I know not all soccer players and not all soccer leagues and women's soccer and etc. have all the BS in it. I can't stand the flopping. I can't take it. All right. So as a non-tech, I've spent a lot of my career reporting to non-technical managers. It actually can be great. You'll have to tell me in chat here why it's frustrating. Why does what about it is frustrating? Is it that they don't understand? They demand impossible things? Basically, I used it as a chance to build a relationship with that technical manager or non-technical manager and say, look, I understand technology really well. I can be a huge asset to you. You can rely on me. Let's be a partnership where I'll help you get better and get the things you need done, and you don't have to worry about it. I'll make you look good. And that worked out. Actually, most of my career at Amazon and a lot of my career before Amazon was working for non-technical leaders, and it worked out super well. Yeah. Shifty Schultz has some of the right answer here. Do the job well enough, they have no desire to see behind the curtain. But it's also get good at explaining technical things to non-technical people in non-technical language. Use analogy. Get on a whiteboard and draw. Help them feel like you can speak their language. What's implied in this question is that you want to force them to be like you. And that's going to limit you. Because if you think of the great CEOs of the world, very few of them are technical. And so you're always going to be, if you need to have a technical manager, you're capping how high in the world you can go. I report to a non-technical person now. Most of my Amazon career has been non-technical. Bosses, you want to get out of that. So it's, and Kristen says she's interested in hearing more on this one. Kristen is a non-technical manager with technical reports. So for her, it's about being able to call BS and ask questions, but to build a relationship where they will dig in. Let's see. I want to catch this before it goes off the screen. My experience has been non-technical managers take technical work for granted. They appreciate non-technical work more than coding. Yeah, sometimes, it's about mutual respect. Having a boss who understands that tech work is hard, so is legal work, so is financial work. This type of work takes all of these. There are many specialties in the world. I'm a coder. I'm a management expert now. I don't want me doing heart surgery on anyone, and you don't want me as your heart surgeon. The point is, specialization is normal. So it's about respecting those specializations, but also being able to communicate it. You've got to be able to share your specialization in a way that people understand. Now, if you have a boss, if what you're really saying is your boss can't respect anything other than what he or she does, that's a challenge that you can try and fight through, but you may need a different boss. Let's see. Help them with value, or maybe they suck and appreciation should be there, but isn't. So, speaking to Kristen for a minute and giving you the non-technical manager's perspective, the ideal non-technical manager has respect for the specialization, whether it's legal, finance, no matter what it is. And Will Scarlett says he picked this up commenting, being a commentator. He's an esports commentator. Wonderful person to have in the channel here. you've got, as a non-technical manager, you have to respect the skill, but you have to be willing to question it and draw the person out and say, look, I know this may be a little hard or painful for you, but I want to understand what you're doing and what's valuable about it and what's hard about it. And so I need you to take a few minutes and take me through it. And then you have to really pay attention and ask questions. Steve Jobs was not a technical manager, I don't believe. I don't believe Steve Jobs had a deeply... I think Steve Wozniak was the tech brain there. Bye-bye, Trippy. See you never. So let's see. Your manager should understand that if you know you're providing value or not. One second. All right. Handling technical difficulties. Did you take care of this, Dave?
Getting there.
All right, let's see. Will Scarlett. You should just be able to do this here, right?
Well, it scrolled past, so I gotta go take care of it.
All right, that's fine. All right. So let's see. Next question was, I'm happy with my position, but I want more money. My boss makes a big show talking about the budget all the time, but I know these things are flexible because I see how the policies are bent. How do I go about making myself an exception when he's got up this smoke screen? So great question. Happy to talk about it. And it'll pop up behind me here in a moment. But you want to make more money. Great. Money isn't everything, but good to know. So your boss is talking about the budget all the time. Look, you can talk to your boss about what it takes to get a raise. The first thing is, have you actually asked? I know the way to be an exception to the policy is pretty simple. It's to be very valuable, and that's way one, show value. Way two is be a squeaky wheel. And way three, which is related to squeaky wheel, is to threaten to leave. And you have to be careful with threatening to leave. You may want to have another job offer in hand, or you may want to be willing to deal with the repercussions. And if you're not in a place where you can threaten to leave and you're not willing to bluff, you have to stick to just pushing on that. The bottom line is, raises are often a force of will. Your boss doesn't want to give one, apparently, because he or she feels up against a budget problem. So if that's true, the way to be an exception is to show exceptional value and then force the issue. And to force the issue, remember you have a bunch of peers. Most of them are not in the room. They don't go to the boss. I've given these stats before, but it's worth resharing. 70% of people have never asked for a raise. So just going and actually asking puts you in the minority. Second, of those people who do ask for a raise, 70% of them get a raise. So I have a whole show available in our YouTube that I did with Devin Nash on asking for raises. We role played it. So we brought people on and we made them ask us for raises and we gave them every shitty objection possible. So I recommend I don't think Devin has published that yet in his YouTube. So actually, the salary negotiation you can find in Devin Nash's YouTube archives, and it will be, or sorry, his Twitch archives, and it will be coming out as a YouTube video soon. But we've done a whole several hour thing on this. The basic way to make yourself an exception, though, and some of the people in chat here have heard this before. If someone comes to me and wants more money, I say to them, be more valuable. And that's not me being a smartass. If you can be more valuable, I will pay you more. It's an equation. So what you need to do is prove value to your leader and then ask for just compensation for that value. And if you don't get it or can't get it, go get it somewhere else. That's the short answer. Yeah, and so Hephaestus talks about the number of people who ask him for raises, same thing. And Playard says it's being worked on now. He works on Devin's YouTube videos. Playard, just send 40 Pink Dragons, the mod, the link to where it is in Devin's TV, and she can repaste it into chat. You can't put it in directly, but send it as a DM to 40 Pink Dragons, and it'll show up here from her in chat in a minute. All right. So let's have fun before we get too long in the show and do the question of the week. And a lot of you know the question of the week, the way we do it. We're on week 19, and we pull questions from Arthur Aaron's 36 questions that build relationship. And then we'll go back to the list of questions. We'll finish up our discussion here. But we've done 18 of the 36 questions. So for those of you who are always here, we've been halfway through. Now, if you're watching and you want to participate, you need to follow now because only followers can chat. And once you're a follower, most of the followers open this. It's the most answer this. And we all talk about it in chat, and I'll give you my answer. So this week's question, remember, we're halfway through these questions. They're getting more and more personal and deeper. This week's question is, if you know that in 1 year you will die suddenly, would you change anything about the way you are now living? And why? So again, if you know that in 1 year you will die suddenly, would you change anything about the way you are now living and why? And I think that's relevant because it's exactly about being stuck. If you're stuck, you can ask yourself, well, if I only had a year to live, what change would I want to make? Or if I only had 10 years to live, what change would I make? Or would I stay right where I am and bull through this? Is this what I want to be doing? Am I living my best life? So for me, I would change all kinds of things, right? I'm 50, I have kids. I'd leave my job so I could spend the next year with them because why bother saving a lot of money? There's the video, by the way. The highlight special, critical strategies to get a raise. So, Marksman, no, today is a good day to die. Well, I will say I just finished Devin's favorite book, Letters from a Stoic by Lucius Seneca. And really interesting about life and death. It's a great short read if you haven't read it. So I would change a lot of things if I only had 1 year to live. I'd spend all the time with friends. Why don't I do that? Why don't I quit my job right now today? Well, because I expect to live hopefully 30, 40 more years. So if I quit my job today, I won't necessarily have the money for the rest of my life. So it's a good forcing function. This question is a good question to force you to think. But since none of us knows when our last day is coming, we have to be a little bit more thoughtful. But I love your answers here. Absolutely, I would stop saving and start being more aggressive with my investments, hire as many people to help me get my project up and running. Also run up a bunch of credit cards, yes. Yes, because I don't have income. I'm a nurse and have bills, and I would continue as is. I'll have many regrets, yeah. I don't have some other income and providing my time, yeah. Because you're Ethan Evans. All right. Crazy doggy. I would stop working my current job. I would use all my savings, either starting or joining a new company or project. No family or kids to worry about here. Been feeling pressure from my friends and colleagues to serve at least 2 years at a big tech company before making that move. Yeah, and that might be, if you're early in your career, crazy, that might be a reasonable thing to do. But plan that move and then make it boldly because you're young and you can always retrench. Um, Kristen, I take my family on a whirlwind of new experiences and find a better way to document my thoughts to share with my kids down the road. That's a great thing. That's one of the reasons um, I do this show is I figure my kids can watch it later. Like when they're older, they can get advice here by looking back at my archives. So every now and then on a show, I say hi to my kids, hoping they're watching long after I'm gone. Um, but look, I think this is it's just coincidental, but the question of the week is relevant to the topic. Is your life on a trajectory where you're happy with it in case death comes upon you unexpectedly? Are you living your life today on some path? You may not reach the end, death may intercept you, but are you living on some path and in some way that you think you'll feel good about? Or are you living some sort of hell that actually, if death came on you, you'd be like, oh my God, I thought I was going to have a chance to fix this? If that's true, you better start working on fixing it. Marksman says, Dharma, closure, yes. Um, uh, this is Evan says, I wouldn't do so much different, but I would take some time, like a couple of weeks, where I could go see my friends in the States. Yes. Friends are super important. EMS 9 Tech, great point on thank you for the feedback. Great point on researching future position. Death, sweet, sweet release. Well, if you see it that way, I mean, there is some of that. That's a Seneca thing, where we're prisoners in our body. Tekkanen, thank you for the cheer. It's only been here a few weeks, but I sincerely want to thank you for all the advice you give free. It's very much appreciated. That's what I want to do in this community. And that's why I love your questions. If you guys want to put in some more questions, I'll answer those. And then we'll talk about the great shows. I have the most packed schedule I've ever had. So maybe the mods, I think there's a chat command to pull up the calendar. But if not, you can find it on my website. We have so many shows coming. Let me run them down real quick and we'll go back to questions. Let's see. Wednesday, we're doing Shadow Fox, Tina, and her switch to her dream job. Friday, we're doing Harvard psychologist and new Twitch phenomenon, Dr. Alok Kanagia. He streams as healthygamer_GG. He has an average viewership of like 3,000 or 4,000 now a lot of times. And he normally streams on how to be a healthy gamer and dealing with game addiction. But I reached out to him and we're going to talk about stress at work, workplace stress. So hopefully, if any of you have ever had stress in your jobs or stress at work, this will be your chance. And by the way, that's everybody. Absolutely everybody has stress at work. We'll talk about that. And I'll be transparent about some of the things that stress me out. Then we're going to have this weekend, next weekend, at this time, I'll have Jason Dockton on. Jason runs mental health help for gamers as well. And then a week from Monday, I'll be back on Devin's show. Devin and I are in the middle of starting up a new show called Twitch Pitch, where you can come on and pitch your ideas, and we'll give you feedback on two important things. Both the content of your pitch, what do we think of the idea, and your pitch technique. How can you be more effective in selling people on an idea? Let's see. What tech company do you think will be the standout cloud superstar of 2020? Loaded question. Can't answer it. I don't talk about Amazon here. So the answer is obviously Amazon. But I don't talk about Amazon here. Duke of Thought, you're starting to get depressed, buddy. We may need a support group for you or something else. Because you have stress because you don't work. So again, Duke of Thought, he needs a chemical engineering job. Somebody help him out. All right. Furrow Key. If I think about the imminent death question, I guess I would meditate and travel a lot. Haven't ever had the chance to do that. Absolutely. So, the interesting thing, a lot of you on this death question need to read the 4 Hour Work Week if you haven't. The 4 Hour Work Week's a great book on kind of not delaying your entire life to the future, trying to get a lot of the value out of it. Aw, Duke, it's part true, right? Every joke has a kernel of truth in it. Um, every joke we tell because it's expressing something for us, and you do feel bad about having not found a job. I'm glad you're unstressed though, so thanks. All right, great question here. We'll go back to questions. How can I deliver feedback about my peers if they have a history of not taking feedback and running to my manager? Well, let's see. We're gonna go Confucian, I think it is here for a minute, or Tao Te Ching. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You can't make people accept feedback. However, here's a few things you can do. Number one, you can't confront them in anger. Like, hey, you fucked that up is not feedback, it's criticism. Number two, so you have to find the right time. Number two, you have to do it in private. Number three, you have to ask them, hey, Sally, Sarah, Fred, Alex, Nishan, Pashan, I have something I'd like to share with you. Would you be interested? Or I had an observation on our last project and how it went. I'd love to discuss with you. Can we talk about that? I'm going to do a show soon about the value of bribery. And what I mean about the value of bribery is this bribery in the lightweight form: donuts, coffee, lunch. If you want your peers to, you have to have a relationship. Basically, if your peers don't take your feedback and run to your manager, they feel criticized or attacked, not helped. They feel like you're not there to help them, you're there to tell them what losers they are. And maybe they even think you're wrong. But you have to build a relationship and trust. That's how you get them to take feedback. So, yes, bribery. Bribery in the form of donuts. Donuts are incredible bribery. And if you don't believe me, just think of how Homer Simpson immortalized them when he said, ooh, donuts. Okay? It's not me speaking. Paintbrush Hero. Haven't seen you here for a while. Great to see you here. Appreciate the sub and the continuing sub. I try to ask for my feedback from my manager if they're not going to offer it. Yes. Ask for feedback. Listen closely. No matter whether you agree or not, say thank you. Because if you get feedback, the feedback tells you one of two things. It tells you about a valid problem you need to deal with, or it tells you about a perception problem that you still need to deal with. All feedback is a gift. If people aren't seeing it that way, though, it's because they feel threatened. What if we all talk shit about each other? Sometimes true and sometimes not, but we all still hang out at work and outside of work. That's great. Like if you have that relationship and you can chat back and forth, like having a relationship and the trust, you can just ask people privately, like, what do you really think? Or, hey, how can I actually help? What could I do to be better? Jack the Dipper, dough. That is right, donuts. People still eat junk food. Yes, Marksman, I know you said you were focused on diet earlier. People eat a lot of junk food. Sherlock Holmes, thanks for the response to my feedback question. You're very welcome. Thank you, in. I haven't seen your ID before. Welcome to the community. Love to have you here. All right, we'll get a couple more questions in here. So we'll go to the next one. Strider Stone. All right. How important is rank loyalty? When is it okay to circumvent your supervisor? Oh, very rarely, and with great care. Um, it depends on why you want to circumvent them or why you want to go around them. It's always best to talk to your boss first. And it's best, I've gone around my boss, but sometimes with my boss's permission. So I've said to a leader or even a leader above a leader, hey, I don't think that's what our mutual boss said. Do you mind if I go ask? So I tell a story, and stories are always good. So my entire career at Amazon, it's been Jeff Bezos, somebody on Jeff's senior team, which we call an SVP, a senior vice president, some vice president, and then me. And that goes all the way back to 15 years ago when I was a senior manager. It was me, I reported to a vice president, he reported to a senior vice president, and that guy reported to Jeff. And as the company has gone from 10,000 to 600,000, I've stayed in the same place. I've moved up. I've never, same thing. All right. The point is, we had direction on a project, and we had a meeting with Jeff, and he said a bunch of things, and I thought I heard one thing, and our SVP, a very powerful man, now CEO of Amazon Web Services, Andy Jassy, thought he heard something else. And we were talking about what to do next with this project. Should we go this way or that way? And Andy said, well, Jeff clearly said, do blah. And I said, Andy, that's not what I heard. I thought he said we could do this other thing, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to go do this other thing. Basically, I wanted to broaden the project. And Andy said, I heard Jeff say, keep it narrow. And I said, well, we're going to go meet with Jeff in a few weeks. Would you mind if I just asked him? Like, I'm sure I heard this other thing. Can I just ask him? And Andy said, yeah, sure. Well, we had this meeting with Jeff, and I went and brought up this topic. And I said, you remember a few weeks ago we talked about this? Well, and I kept it very neutral. I said, some of us in the room heard thing A, and some of us heard thing B. And we didn't know if you meant A or B, which was it? And he said, well, who thought I said thing B? And I said, well, Andy did. And he said, well, Andy heard me right. Andy knows me very well, and Andy heard me right. So I was wrong, and I got shown up. And the guy who told me I was wrong was my boss, but he had been fine with me asking Jeff. The moral of this story is, sometimes your boss is fine with you going around them. If you have to sneak around them, you better be prepared to get a new job. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it would have been funny if it was thing C. Yes, Jeff is a very busy man, runs all of Amazon. No, I have a podcast. You can find us on every podcast platform. All of our shows go to YouTube, and from there are syndicated onto Apple iTunes, and 4 or 5 other podcast platforms. So they'll be up in a couple days, and all the archives are there. Okay, we'll answer a couple more questions and we'll call it good because Awesome Dave actually has to get to the airport. He has to go to Las Vegas. So my producer, not Las Vegas, Los Angeles. He wishes it was Las Vegas. So he has to get there. Plus the Seahawks lost, so we have to drown some sorrows. I'm not that sorrowful, but other people are. All right. How do you know what to delegate? Oh boy. That's kind of off topic for tonight's stream, but delegation, I could do a whole show on that. That would be a good thing for me to add to new topics, actually. Let me know in chat if you'd like me to have a whole thing on delegation. The short answer, let's see if I can do this fast. I delegate everything I can. The only thing I can't delegate is my responsibility for the company to keep things on track. I have certain things I'm entrusted with, but I delegate all the work I can. I delegate all the decisions I can. I delegate I delegate anything I can where I think the person is capable or has a hope in hell of being capable. I try to stretch and grow my employees, so I'm always looking at the members of my team who are all now executives in their own right and thinking, what is the most challenging thing I can give that person? What you don't delegate is something that you're the only person who can do it and that your boss would expect you to make the final decision, something that's going to cost the company a lot of money or that you're going to get fired if it's wrong. You have to be involved in that. So you don't micromanage, but there's a few things that are critical you reserve to yourself. Um, yeah. Oh, I wasn't looking at chat, and Hephaestus immediately said everything you can. You know, Hephaestus, if he did a show, we could just do it together because he always has the same answer as me. And by the way, if you're not in our Discord, Hephaestus chimes in and answers stuff sometimes when I don't get there. He's a very skilled entrepreneur and he can give you as good answers as I do, is my experience, which is a real compliment to him because while he runs his own company, he's probably 20 years younger than I am. Uh, yeah, all right. But I see you guys would like to do a thing on it, so we'll talk about delegation sometime. Uh, Micromanagement is hell. There's no question. And by the way, we don't like to do it. If we're micromanaging you, it's because we think you are about to screw something up. In other words, if you're being micromanaged, you either have a terrible boss or they think you're screwing something up. And I might just ask them. I'd ask them like, "You're all over me. I want to make it so you don't have to be. I don't think you want to be all over me. Um, I don't think you want to be micromanaging me. So why is it you feel you have to? Like, what signals am I not giving you that I have it under control or that I am giving you that I'm screwing it up?" And listen to what they say. And if you can fix that, fix it. And if they really have no answer, it's just, well, I need to be in all the details, get a new job. That's my answer to a lot of things. But there are good bosses in the world. Hephaestus is one. I'd like to think I'm one. There are others in chat. I think Kristen will be one. She's just starting down that path. Go find a good boss. Life is too short. See our question about death in 1 year. All right. How do you measure your success when negotiating a raise? 10%. A good raise is 10%. So we're going to blow through questions at this point. We're in short answer mode. Let's see how fast this is going to be like. We're going to run them out. So the next question was, how do you measure your success when negotiating a raise? Whole show on raises. We posted the link earlier. 40 Pink Dragons can throw it up again. But the really short answer is 10%. 10% is a great raise. You do better than 10%, you did even better. Getting any raise is good. All right, we can roll past that one. My supervisor only wants to discuss things verbally without written instruction. I take this as a red flag. Am I overthinking this? Yes. Now, if your supervisor often then shits on you and said, "Oh, I didn't tell you that. I told you this." Like, if I only give verbal instructions. I rarely write things down because it's faster. I do send emails, but generally I'm giving instructions in a meeting or whatever. I figure you can listen to English or whatever language you speak natively and that you don't need me to write it down. So I only write things down if I'm in fear of misunderstanding. If you really want things written down, write them down and send them back to your boss and say, "Boss, this is what I heard. I'm going to do these things. If I missed anything or have a misunderstanding, let me know." Then they're written down and you can move on. But unless he or she is undermining you, no big deal. And Eczema, I saw that you had comments in chat. They scrolled off because of the auto stuff. If you want me to see them, put them back up. Is all of your content creation a passion project? That was a question in chat. Yeah, pretty much. Obviously, I learned something for it that helps my day job, but pretty much, I do this because I want to help people grow. In other words, I've been incredibly lucky in my career. I've advanced very quickly. I've gotten the chance. I backed into working at Amazon, and then it became one of the most successful companies of all time. So I feel really blessed. This is my way of giving back. I share here. People get better. I hear a lot about them. If you're working for someone and the boss tends not to give a critique feedback, how can you best find out if you're doing a good job? Ask your coworkers. Ask other Eczema. You should, if you're going to be on the channel, and I know I've met you from Devin's channel, use our Q&A tool and the instructions come up. But the basic answer to this is ask your coworkers. Ask someone else. If the boss tends not to give a lot of feedback, ask your peers. Okay, flipping the topic. As a manager, how do you go about unstucking one of your employees? Oh, wow. This might be the last question of the night unless other stuff gets votes. What's the conversation like if you notice that an an EE, that's me, Ethan Evans, but it's also something else. If an employee may be stuck versus they, yeah, so the first thing I do is I go and ask them what they want to do. So I have an employee, I won't go into details, but I feel like might be stuck. And I've been asking, what do you want to do? Do you know what you want to do with your career? Have you thought this through? Where are you going? Do you feel challenged? Are you happy? So I ask questions and I try and figure out, does this person have ambition but no plan, or no ambition? Ambition but no plan, lead them through the process of getting a plan. Figure out if they give a damn. If they give a damn, you can lead them through getting a plan. Give them a copy of What Color's Your Parachute? Give them a personality test. Show them job descriptions. Ask them what they want to grow at. If they have no ambition, now you have to figure out why. Is it they've always had no ambition, or something's going wrong in their life? They can be having a divorce, a breakup, an illness. There may be something curable, in which case cure it, or wait for it to resolve if it's going to resolve in a short time. If they have no ambition at all, now you're left with try and motivate them, or replace them, or live with them. I never favor live with them, but there are some jobs where you do. Amazon isn't normally one of those places. If someone doesn't want to grow, they're probably going to fail over time. High performance workplace. But leaving that aside, because we have an expectation of growth. But if they're not motivated, you can either try and motivate them, like say, hey, to be a successful employee here, you actually have to move forward and get better at your skills every year. Dave, I lost the monitor. It timed out on us. And we're about to wind down because he has to go to the airport. But while we get the monitor back, the point is, you blast them loose at that point. You basically tell them to work here, you've got to get a plan. And then either they do or they don't. And they either work out or they don't. So, but I start with questions. I ended with all the harsh stuff, which is basically you're going to have to get moving or you're going to get fired. And that's true. Workplaces, good workplaces, expect you to improve or get out. Hey, Asset, thank you for the sub and the continuing sub. Late on resub, been very busy. That's okay. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you landed internships for spring 20 and summer 20. That's impressive. And I'm glad the interview episodes really gave you great insight. That's fantastic. Congratulations. Join our Discord and put that in the career success place. Oh, I love this. Terran Fear, sail or set sail? Yes, there is truth to that. Look, your workplace pays you to not only do your job, but to get smarter and better. Any good workplace does. If a workplace is paying you to dig a ditch and have a strong back, maybe you don't have to get better. Okay, let's see. Which book did I benefit from most in life? I feel like I'm supposed to answer that with the Bible, but I don't know. I'd have to think about it. 4-Hour Workweek was very powerful. I think probably the book Decisive. You can see my book list. They'll throw up, the moderators will throw my book list up. But probably over time, the book Decisive will do that for me. I didn't read it long enough ago that I can yet say it's true. So Furrow Key, the Bible, and then the Art of the Deal. All right, there you go. So with this, I'm going to call it a night. Hi, I'm Ethan Evans. I hope you've gotten a lot out of this show. To follow us on YouTube, please click the bell icon in the bottom left and subscribe. Also, you can find us live on Twitch, where we answer questions interactively. Further, we have a Discord community, where not only I, but other members of the community team up to answer your questions interactively. Hope you've enjoyed. Thank you.